A federal judge has ordered North Korea to pay over $500 million in the death of a U.S. college student. Otto Warmbier died after being detained for a year plus by the North Korean regime. He was a junior at the University of Virginia and accused of tearing down propaganda posters or one propaganda poster while on a 5-day visit to Pyongyang. Warmbier returned to the U.S. last year in a vegetative state and died from what was deemed severe brain injury from his time in custody. A judge ruled Monday that Warmbier's parents should be awarded the payment in damages, adding that the action holds North Korea, quote, liable in the torture, hostage-taking, and extrajudicial killing. Isaac Stone-Fish joins us now. He is a CBSN contributor and senior fellow at Asia Society Center on U.S.-China relations. Isaac, this sounds unprecedented for a judge to rule that North Korea owes a family money. What is the history of this, if any?
It's certainly unusual. The reason that the Warmbier family are allowed to sue the North Korean government is because North Korea returned to the state sponsor of terrorism list. And
they were taken off the list?
They were taken off the list, and then they were put back on. I do want to point out that the odds that North Korea will actually pay this money is basically zero. For a lot of reasons. Right. The lack of relationship between the U.S. and North Korea is one of them, but it is a very strong symbolic message. Can
there be any kind of enforcement when it comes to ordering another country to pay damages to one of your citizens? That sounds like there's no mechanism to enforce that.
You could say, if you don't do this, we will not allow you to do these other things. I don't think there's a strict legal mechanism in this case, but if the Trump administration wants to really trumpet this cause, they could try to put this in with the rest of the negotiations they're having with North Korea.
What do you think this says symbolically about North Korea's human rights violations?
Well, I think the important thing to point out about North Korea's human rights is that while Pyongyang treats its own citizens absolutely horrifically, it is maybe the worst country in the world for their own treatment, they are quite ginger towards Americans. And I think a lot of analysts who follow North Korea believe, though they don't like to talk about it publicly, that Warmbier probably committed suicide, attempted suicide, and that's where the brain damage came from, as opposed to it coming from torture by the North Korean
U.S.
state.
Analysts believe that? Some of them? I hadn't heard that before. In some of our reporting, I went to North Korea twice to report, and you're right. We were treated like fragile eggs. We were escorted everywhere. I mean, that's also the government's way of keeping watch on us. But of course, North Korea says that he violated their laws by ripping down this propaganda poster. Interesting to hear what some of the other theories are. In the 22-page lawsuit, does it reveal anything new that you hadn't heard before, or what do you think is significant from it?
It hasn't revealed anything new. I think it shows that this case is still really a lodestar, really an emotional appeal from the Warmbier family and about how Americans feel about North Korea and how much enmity, and I think it's really justified how the Warmbier family feels. So I think it was less that this is a new chapter and more that the American perceptions and what the Warmbiers do will complicate Trump's ability to have another nice, well-meaning, but lack of substance summit with Kim Jong-un.
So do you think it will make negotiations harder in terms of nuclear proliferation?
I think the chances that negotiations on nuclear proliferation would go anywhere at all are also basically zero. Right. I think it'll make it harder for Trump to be able to symbolically claim a deal because people will want something about the Warmbier situation, some sort of symbolic victory from the North Korean side, and that'll be difficult, but I don't think North Korea has ever had any intentions of giving up its nukes, and I don't think this is going to change that.
It certainly keeps Warmbier's death in the news and in the front minds of Americans and the government. It's hard now for the president perhaps to develop his relationship with Kim Jong-un when we've been reminded of his death and what it's meant for this family.
Exactly, and I don't think the Warmbier family is going to get any financial compensation out of this, but I hope that this gives them at least more of a sense of closure to have this victory, even if it's just a symbolic one.
It was so difficult to see him come home. I remember those pictures so vividly. Isaac Stone-Fish, thank you so much.
Thank you.